Hello, I'm Jim from Come Play With Us, and in this video I'm going to be reviewing Dawn of the Zeds 3rd edition. This is a tower defense zombie apocalypse type game brought to you by Victory Point Games. As usual, I am not going to be doing a whole overview of this game. I have done a playthrough on my channel. I'll link to it down in the show notes below. Okay, so let's start by talking about the components of this game. So the first warning I have to say is this game is quite pricey for the type of components you're going to get. It's in Canada. It runs between $90 and $100, and it's the component in here are kind of similar to like a standard euro, and standard euros in Canada run between $60 and $70. So it's a bit pricier. There are no minis or anything in this game. It's just tokens, cards, and then there's some dice and a whole pile of rule books. So you are paying a bit of a premium on this one. I think it's probably because this one probably doesn't get as big print runs as some of those euros and everything. I mean, the quality is very good, so you are getting good quality components, good thick cardboard stock. Art is beautiful, really nice art on everything basically. So, but I just gotta mention that it is a bit pricier, but I think for what you're paying, you are getting a good quality game, and it is worth it. But you have to judge that yourself. Yeah, so the card quality for this game is pretty good. I do sleeve everything, but the card quality is pretty good. I love these are the character cards here that you'll be playing, and I love how on the back they have a full backstory and everything for each character, and then they tell you for setup what all the pieces that you need for setup for each of the characters. So those are really nicely done. The iconography is easy to read. It has all the special abilities nicely laid out as a reference for you. So I really like that, how the components work there. The board is laid out very nicely. It's easy to read. You have the various tracks on the board, and everything's got good symbols and iconography on them, so I can easily understand when the game will refer to certain locations and things like that, and I don't have a hard time finding those. The chits for the monsters, I don't mind them, but they're, I don't know, could have been a little nicer, I guess. I don't know what I would change about them, because they do need to flip, and they are very functional. But they don't have a lot of art on them. Maybe they're kind of small, I guess. So maybe if things were scaled up a little bit. I mean, if everything was scaled up a little bit, I think it would be a bit nicer. It is a little small for me. But like I said, the quality in the art is really nice, and the iconography is easy to read. But it just, if I had to pick about something on the components, they do seem like, here's your player pieces. They do seem kind of small. I wish it was scaled up just a little bit to make things a little easier to read and a little easier to manage on the board. But quality is very good. You get reference cards for all the different types of units in the game. These are very nice. They have rules, reminders, and everything on them. What their stats are and all that kind of thing. So I really like that they include these. So depending on what version of this game you're playing, you can pull up the appropriate reference cards, and you have them there handy. It comes with a pretty good player aid. It has the tables, the basic tables on it that you roll on during the game. All the information you need is on here, and then key symbols and their descriptions on the back. So this is a very good player aid. I mean, it's a kind of a thicker paper stock. It's not cardboard, but it's fine. It works. It's very functional. So, and there's one for each player in the game. Although I do play this mostly solo. You can play up to 4, I think, and they do include one for each player. The dice, I'm not a big fan of these dice. There's nothing wrong with them. They're just plain black dice, but yeah, it would have been nice to have more thematic dice in the game. If you're watching my playthrough, I use my Zombicide dice. They look a little nicer, and I don't know, these ones, they don't really roll. It's a minor pick, but I mean, you can get your own dice and everything, so that doesn't matter. It comes with 6 dice, and there's nothing wrong with them, but yeah, just thematically, it would have been nice to have more of a nicer die to go thematically with it. The rule books, okay, so this is a bit daunting because there are 5 rule books in here. But I really like how they laid these rule books out and how they did all this. So when you first get the game, to learn the game, you really just need this one book. It's a basic game rule book. It has all the rules in here just to play the first level or the basic game and get your feet wet with the game. And it has on the back, it has a quick reference of everything, the steps and stuff. So this is awesome. That's all you need to. So this is not a long rule book. This one has like 19 pages in it. It's got full page examples, that kind of thing. Gets you into the game really easy. Has a big start here on here, so you know this is the one you start with, and you don't really need anything else besides this to start playing the game. Except for they do have the setup book. So the full setup's not in here because they have the setup for all the different ways to play in here. So you just reference the setup in here for the basic game. But otherwise, all the rules are in that rule book. Now, the way this works, and I really love how they did this, is the rules scale. So this game is as simple as you want it to be, or as complex as you want it to be. So how they do that is they start with just the basic game, which is very simple, still fun, but very simple, and not a lot to learn on that. And then they have a bunch of levels. I think there's 5 or 6 levels that they have in this game, and every level they just add the new systems on until you're at the last level, and then all the systems are in playing the game. And what I like about that, it lets you tailor this game to how complex you want it to be. So if you don't want to go beyond a certain level, you don't have to. The game plays well at all the different levels that they offer, and it's just kind of be your preference about how complicated a game you want. And even I think I've played up to level 4, so I've not even played all the levels. I think the only level I haven't played the last 2 levels, which introduce the board is 2-sided. So on the back side, there's another track, an underground track that comes in here, and it introduces some new movement rules. So I haven't played with that. And I think the last level just adds more difficult, just makes the game more difficult. And so I haven't done that either. I'm perfectly happy staying at, I think I'm at level 4. And I find that game, I will eventually go to level 5, I think, but I'm fine playing at level 4. Sometimes I play at level 2 or 3 if I just want a simpler game, or I don't want to think too hard and I just want to roll some dice. So I really love that. How they implemented that here, and it's done well with these rulebooks. So you've got the basic game rulebook that you need just to play the basic game. You've got a setup, an epilogue book. This book just details out the varying setup for the solo, co-op, competitive. There's a bunch of ways to play this, plus the setup for all the different levels. And then you've got a dossier. I think this one just has like yeah, this one just explains, it's got all the kind of components and stuff like that. There's some backstory, things like that in here. There's a level up rulebook. So this is the rulebook you go to when you want to go to the next level. So it has the rules for all the rules for all the levels after the basic one, and it's all color coded and everything. And then they just have this A to Z book, which is awesome. This is just the reference book. It's a reference for everything in the game. So this is kind of like the complete rules here. So that's pretty awesome. So really well done with all these rule books. It looks a little daunting, but it works really well and makes learning this game really easy and fun to play. Yeah, I think that's all I want to talk about with the components of this game. So let's talk a bit about the mechanics of this game. So this game is fairly, when it comes down to it, it is a fairly simple game. There are a lot of mechanics that they layer on, but in essence, this is a tower defense. You're going to have zombies coming in from the various tracks in the basic game all the way up to level 4. It's these 4 tracks on the board, and they'll slowly come towards the center, and you're defending the town center. If any zombies get into the town center, you lose immediately. So that's the basics of the game. The mechanics of how the game is driven is you're basically just drawing a card, and the card has various phases depending on which version of the game you're playing, and you just follow those phases on the card. It'll move stuff up the tracks, it'll increase infection, it'll make you have to spend food, that kind of things, and then it has some sort of event that happens, and then it'll tell you how many actions you get for the round, and then you just play your actions and rinse and repeat. So every round you're basically just drawing one of these cards and executing it, and then doing your turns. So that game flow is really simple, and you're really just trying to get to the bottom of the deck. So and you can play a fast, long or short game either way. Those are the general mechanics of the game. When you're fighting, you're going to be rolling dice and checking on these charts that are based on how difficult the zombies you are facing and how much strength you have. You just roll and resolve. So the basic mechanics of this are pretty simple to execute, and they make the game really fun and kind of quick to resolve all the combats and stuff like that. Beyond the basics of the game, as you start adding layers on here, it does once you get to the later levels, it does introduce like a pandemic type of mechanic where chaos will build on the board, and you kind of have to keep that in check, or you could lose instantly, and the chaos kind of generates more zombies and kind of amps up the tension and stuff like that. And then in later games, you've got research. You can research a super weapon to try to kill the infection that created the Zeds or the zombies, and they just keep layering on those mechanics, and they introduce them in a way that you can slowly learn the game, and it's not too hard. So I love that about this game. That's pretty much all I want to say about the mechanics of this game. So what don't I like about this game? So this game is kind of billed as co-op, solo, or versus. Now I've never played co-op or versus, and I don't think I ever would. I think this, in my opinion, this is purely a solo game. And maybe I play with one other person, and we sit together and make decisions together. But I wouldn't play with more than two people, I don't think. Just because to me this is just a solo game. You've each got a character. You get a certain amount of actions and you execute them. There's not really turns or anything like that in the game. So if when you're playing co-op, you would just kind of share the actions and share the decisions and stuff like that. It might be fun to have more than one person trying to figure out the different things that are going on. And competitive, I haven't even looked at the competitive rules. I'd have no interest in playing this competitively. I'm guessing in the competitive version, one person plays as Zeds, but yeah. I think for me, this is purely a solo game. The other knock against this game, or things that this doesn't bother me, but what some people might not like is this is a dice fest. I mean, there's a lot of randomness in this game. You're gonna be rolling dice all the time, checking on charts. The dice rolls could go bad. You're also drawing these events, right? And so you could, if you watch my playthrough video, you could see like things can just kind of snowball, where maybe one track just keeps activating, and you got this horde of zombies coming down here, and you can't really deal with it, and or the mine explodes while you're trying to find bullets there, things like that. But the thing is, it's the same cards you're using all the time. So if you're playing basic, the first kind of 2 levels, you're really just using the same cards. So you will get to know the cards that are in the decks, and then you can kind of plan around that. So you can mitigate a bit of the randomness in this game with multiple plays. Of course, the more levels you get in, the more cards that get mixed in the event deck. So there'll be more variety in there and less ability to predict what might happen. So there is that. So yeah, so if you got to know going in, if you don't like randomness in games, then this game is not going to be for you. There's a lot of randomness in this game. It's not, the point of this game is not to be super strategic. This is not chess. This is an experience, really. Okay, so what do I like about this game? I think so. To level set a little bit, kind of what my tastes are in games and everything. I really love storytelling games that tell a story. Now there are kind of 2 types of storytelling games you can get. You can get overt storytelling games, something like Sleeping Gods, where you're going around and there's actually a book of stories, and you're reading stories and paragraphs and stuff like that. And there's an overall story going on. That's one type. And then there's the type of games where the story just emerges from the gameplay. This is the type of game where the story emerges from the gameplay. Now there is a lot of flavor text in here. Like I said, there's backstories on all these cards. There's in the rules there's stories. In every little thing in these event cards and stuff, there's little tidbits of story in there, but it's not overt. The story is gonna emerge from the gameplay, and this game tells some really great stories, and that's probably one of the main reasons I love this game. I mean, it does. You know, there's a lot of tension in the game because it'll build up a little slowly. You know, at first to be like, oh, this is a breeze. We're just pulling off the zombies and stuff. I'm getting, I got lots of resources, blah, and then it'll start to snowball on you. You'll start running low on resources. The hordes of zombies will start gathering on a track, or maybe one will pop up behind your defense that you're trying to build here and make a run for the town center, and you're kind of scrambling. And then by the end of the game, you're just hanging on. You're just like pulling back to the town center and barely hanging on, and just hoping that next you can just get through those cards without the zombies overrunning you, and it gets really tense. And I love that in this game. There's also some great story moments. I still remember, a great story moment in the game where I was like, things were starting to snowball on me, and I was in a lot of trouble, and I flipped that card that brings in a new character in the game, and I was low on characters too because I lost a couple. And a luchador appeared on the horizon on the highway, and he came up behind the zombies and killed them for me, and it was just a great story moment in the game. That's just something you can't write or anything like that. It just emerges from things that happen in the game, and I just love that. It's awesome. So I think this is one of the best examples of a game that has that emergent story in it, and yeah, it's a lot of fun that way, especially with if you like the post-apocalyptic kind of zombie theme. I know there's a lot of zombie games out of there, but this one's been around a long time. I mean, this is its third edition, so this was kind of one of the originals, and I think it's still one of the best. Okay, so what's my overall feelings about this game? This is my favorite tower defense game. Now, I don't have a lot of tower defense games, but this is my favorite. It is a bit on the longer side, so there's a bit of setup, and it's a bit of a longer game, but you can tailor it. There's in the solo game, there's a short and long game that you can play, so it gives you a lot of flexibility that way to kind of tailor the game to what you feel like playing. But yeah, this game is just awesome. I love like I said, I love the emergent story that comes out of this game. I love the theme and how I love all the little backstories and stuff. This game, I'm gonna give this game an 8.5. One of my favorite, like I said, one of my favorite tower defense games, one of my favorite zombie games. And I have a lot of them. I have a lot of zombie games, but this is one of my favorites and always has been. I recommend this to anybody who likes solo games and doesn't mind randomness in their games and is looking kind of for that kind of emergent kind of story experience. I think you can't go wrong with this one. It's very unique and one of the best out there. As usual, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.